Hello, and welcome to a new series of videos. I'm going to play around with HTMX and Django. That's what we're going to do. So you're welcome to follow along with me. I'm going to try to break it down into parts. We'll see how this goes. If you're new to HTMX, it's great for people like me. I have dabbled with Angular, React, Vue, Ember. There's one called Batman.js for Rails. I played with a little bit. Was Backbone. There's a lot of progressive front end frameworks out there. Single page application frameworks, depending on how you use them, what you want to call them. It's a lot of JavaScript. The main thing is state management when it comes to your data on the front end. That is, it's tricky, and it requires essentially a pipeline of JavaScript tools. I found one not too long ago called Pineapples. It's cute. It's got a cute name, right? But it's a lot. HTMX cuts all that out, so that's what makes HTMX amazing. It's you write directly into the HTML. A couple of new attributes. They communicate directly with your Django views, which can trigger celery tasks and whatnot. You can use your Django pipeline, going all the way to server-side events is one thing, but essentially just WebSockets, asynchronous, front end responses is what we're going to be working towards in a lot of ways. Over the next several videos, I am going to build a notification system that we'll do a sample notification, and whenever it fires, it'll put a message into a notification drop down, a bell with an alert. I've It's actually really cool. I have built a chat system, a user-to-user direct messaging system with HTMX. Might be a long video, maybe not too long. I don't know, an hour or two. So we might have to break that down into a few videos. But that's a cool project, and honestly, it's not a lot. It's a very viable, in my opinion, chat system. So we'll look at that down the road. There's the good old fashioned to do list, the to do app. So we might do a to do app, do a to do application. It's the Hello World. It's the de facto. What do you call it? It's the go to starter application for learning something. So we'll dabble with that technology. I could build an open AI chat wrapper with HTMX. I've done that. I think any of that's proprietary. Just WebSockets, and so we could dabble with maybe some open AI with HTMX. And I don't know, but let's just keep something in mind. I'm not a front end developer. Not only that, I'm not going to be able to give you the full vision of HTMX. I barely get it. A couple of things I'd recommend is if you go to htmx.org, you can read about HTMX. I can give you the quick introduction here. HTMX gives you access to Ajax, CSS transitions, WebSockets, servers, send events directly in HTML using attributes, so you can build modern user interfaces with the simplicity and power of hypertext. HTMX is small. It's IE11 compatible and has reduced code base size by 67% when compared with React. So that's awesome. I am working on a project we're transitioning to React from HTMX. I can tell you HTMX is a great starter application. It doesn't have industry clout, so people think it's cool when you build your app with it, but at a certain point, companies want to go into the more complicated frameworks. I think that's going to change. We'll see. I have a lot of faith in HTMX being a game changer down the road. Well, let's see how that goes. Like I said, I barely get it. The long and short of it is we send requests from HTML elements using triggers. Those requests can go talk to a Django view that can do business logic, call models, objects, change data around, do math, whatever, schedule things, fire off. Whatever you would normally do with a view, but then you return HTMX just like you normally would. The view looks exactly the same. You use a return. I'm going to show you how to combine HTML templates together to return them. We're going to look at out-of-band swapping, but we set a swap. So right here we see HX swap is we're going to do the outer HTML of I don't know. It doesn't have a target on here, so maybe the button itself. I think it defaults to self. So we'll do a lot of that. I don't know. I've got a card game that I've built, but that's pretty complicated. I don't know. Maybe we'll pull parts of that. So I have a lot of cool features that I can show you in regards to this. Definitely check out the website. There's a book. Is this the book? I don't know if this is the same book because it's available for free if it's the same book. And I read the book. I read the first part. I didn't do the Flask tutorial. Read online, free forever. Yeah. I would highly recommend reading this. If I ever get verified on YouTube, I'm going to put links on all my videos. And this will be a link that I put on here. And I would recommend doing the Flask tutorial. I didn't do it, so that's on me. But I did read the first half of the book. And very interesting stuff, and it makes a lot of sense. At first I thought it was just a giant meme, like a joke, a gag on developers that don't get it. And the more I use it, the more it's practical. It's very practical, very useful, very quick. So there's not even a lot to go into, I don't think. Maybe setup wise, we can do a quick setup project, and then I'll go on to the next video here. So if you are following along with any of my videos, then you know that I like to use cookie cutter Django. So I'll go ahead and spin up one of those real quick. If I can remember it. It's a lot of cookie cutters. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I have a whole playlist of Django or cookie cutter Django tutorials, HTMX app. On my channel. Let's use example.com. And feel free to go check those out and learn a little bit about Django first. I do go over deployment to the best of my ability. I don't think we're going to deploy this app. We're going to use async so that we have WebSockets. We're not going to use DRF yet. I'm working on an API right now, and I'm going to swing back around and do some DRF stuff. But for now, we're going to say no. I'll talk about using Webpack in regards to HTMX real quick here in a little second. But yes to Celery, yes to Melpit, yes to Sentry, doesn't matter. I'm trying to remember. I can't ever remember. I'm just going to say yes to White Noise and see if I break anything. No to Heroku. 4 to GitHub. No for the IMS, yes for debug, because it ironically puts a bug in the system if you don't include debug. Okay, so that is our Django application, which we can go into right now. Do I have Docker open? This is Docker driven. Again, not hard to spin this up if you've never done this before. Just go check out the intro back there. On my channel, I love working with this system. It's really easy. The project's already there. All we have to do is not break anything. Which is, you know, doiker. So I'm going to do a few of these videos in a row. You know, follow, subscribe, whatever. You know, leave comments, not because of vanity, because I want to know what should I make a video about. I know some stuff. I'll put it in a video if anybody's interested in anything specific, and we'll see how that goes. So, you know, leave comments below the video here while we start up Docker. Let me know what specifically you would like to do with HTMX, or what you want to know what it can do. I find the hardest part about anything, while I stall for time, is remembering, but then also like finding out like the mindset, like understanding the theory of it. Wrapping your brain around that. Once you understand something, it's super easy to learn it. Like learn how things work. I don't know what I'm saying here. Let's spin this up. Docker compose file. We've got that new version. We're on that new stuff. That's in my later videos. If you do that series, the docker-compose.local.yml. It's a little different in the first videos. We'll go up, build. All right. So in regards to Webpack, if you're gonna use npm, there's apparently a HTMX package that you can install that is no bueno. So what you want to do is htmx.org, and then you can import htmx.org. However, in my case, and if you're following along with me, we just want to go to the HTMX CDN. We're going to go, what is it called? Cloud CDN? CDN.js? That'll be the one. Honestly, it doesn't matter. Just make sure that your versions match, and they're the later versions. Yeah, I'm not going to do alpha or beta. I'm used to the later versions, and I'm not entirely sure what the differences are. Okay. But we have the project while it's building. We have access to the templates. I'm trying to beat 15 minutes here. So if I go into the templates, and if I go into base.html, ignoring a couple things with the template itself that I normally go through and fix, just getting okay, right here. Just getting HTMX available to our pages. I'm going to paste in first. We're going to do this one, which is the htmx.min.js. Okay. The only other one that I've used so far, maybe I've used. The only one that I can think of at the moment that I've used so far is the WebSockets. I haven't even used server-side event library yet. Might have to go through each one of these. Not Rails method. I played with Rails. I'm not a Rails developer, but I would go ahead and get WebSockets set up. We wouldn't normally include these in every page, and we might change it down the road. For now, these are the two libraries that we'd want to play with. So those are in the base.html. We'll hit save. I think while that's building, we can do one quick test. Excuse me. It's like it's going to take a second for some reason. So let's go ahead and see if we have it installed correctly. I know there's much simpler way to do this, but we'll just go ahead and build a button. The way I like to write these is the way you might see them written is kind of like stacked like this. I think this is a JavaScript thing. I'm not a front-end developer, but I really like this in regards to HTMX because you can see the attributes a lot easier. So I might give this an ID that's just like test btn, and then hx. We'll just do a get request, and I'll have a URL in a second, but we don't have it right now. And then we need the trigger is going to be a click, and there's a lot of different options we'll look at down the road. You can find them in the docs too. Trigger and then target. I might be wrong about that. No. Let's make the target a test click. Let's make the target a div right here, which we'll move in just a second. We'll make this ID test div, and the target will make test div, and we'll say hx swap, which is a pretty important attribute that I keep learning more and more about. For one, this hx swap OOB is out of band, which kind of releases it out of this structure tree of like assumed like the div is that you're replacing somewhere around the button or in the button or next to the button or the parent of the button, and it could be anywhere on the page if it's out of band. So then it just goes straight to the ID. I don't know. I mean, there's just a couple little things, but in this case, we could do next, which is the next div, test div. There's also a closest command. I mean, it's super flexible. Most of these do pretty much the same thing, and then if you just kind of raw dog it, pardon my language, it'll do it. So okay, sorry, that was tripping me out down there. One thing that we would do over here on the sidebar with the templates, with the new folder, and we would say something like snippets. I don't know. Hey, you know what? Leave it in the comments. Do you like snippets or do you like partials? I'm kind of partial to snippets, if I'm being honest. I'm struggling. I keep switching between the two. But whether you use the partials folder or snippets folder, just a folder to hold some HTML documents. I'm going to call this test_div.html, and I will take this test div out of the main file there, and then I'm going to include it. So there will be a lot of this. Get comfortable with it, because when you detach these elements out into their own files and then use this include statement to put them back in, they're then free to be injected back into the page with HTMX, which is what makes it all work so well. So this, if you can get used to this, you can do pretty much anything. I think for now, just to show you how to set a variable, for one, let's put the templates folder, and then it's in snippets, and it was test_div.html. And then to set a variable, we would say width. And in this case, for now, I'm just going to call it message and just say test. And then in the test div, we'll put message, which is from that include statement. And I'll get this stacked here. All right, so is this built? Yep. So we can check it out real quick. And then, all right, just in time. So let's go look at it real quick. I'll write the view. You'll see how this works, and we'll call it a video. What do you say? All right, zooming in here, you can see that there's a test click button. There is this test text under the button, which is from that div. If I click this, it won't do anything. There's not a URL set. Let's see, actually, it should say like swap error, target error, request error or something. Let's see. No, okay. So it did kind of a default weird thing where it pulled the entire page in to the target div. Did I set the swap, or did I get distracted? No, so I did that wrong. The target is could be next closest. My bad. If anybody's watching it and laughing at me, I apologize. The swap would be outer HTML, inner HTML, before end. I don't remember if it's lowercase or uppercase, before or after end. So there's whether you're like appending it inside, below, above, if you're putting it outside of an element, below or above, if you're replacing an element, if you're replacing inside it, the guts of an element. All of these things are very useful in their places. Like there's a lot of different everything from when I first started building a chat, I was polling and swapping out the entire chat, and then I got a little more intricate, and I started using before end to inject the chat bubble responses from each user. You know what I mean? So like they all have their places and things that you can do with them, and they're important. But for now, we're just going to do outer HTML to replace the entire thing. In fact, I might be able to demo that. I don't know what the time is right now. I don't think we're too far off. I apologize for leading us down the wrong path, though. Fortunately, nothing was changed that can't be fixed with a refresh. Possibly. We might have broken the entire system. We broke the internet. Okay. So, did exactly the same thing. It just, they did an outer swap of the div. So it basically replaced that test div with the entire page, which is not what we want. But there's no, it didn't get to the page, and the page returned that page HTML, so that's what it put into that. So I mean, that's essentially how HTMX works. There you go. End of video almost, but we'll set up a view so we can give you a more controlled example here, because that's a little wackadoodle, not doing the job. We find place to do that. I guess what I should probably just do real quick, I know we're dragging on. We're gonna make an app. Oh, run forest run manage.py start app test. Really bad at naming stuff. My cat's name is Cat. I could just use the users app if it's going to take a while. Maybe it doesn't like the name. Alright, if you don't know what I'm doing or why I'm doing that, then go watch the Django series. It's super important. Gotta add that to my config settings file base. Drop it in this list. HTMX app test. Okay, so now we have a new app that we're using called test. It's got views. We'll make a view. Okay, so we are sending a request from the front end to the back end, It comes with it's no different. So let's just do this. We'll call it change message. Okay. So we have the request. When we do a return, we can literally. I mean, I'm not being facetious here. I'm literally meaning literally return the HTML. I know. Calm down. We'll get through this together. Let me show you how that works. We need the request, we need the template, we need the context, which we can add right here. Well, it's like the simplest way to show this would just be like for one, let's write this correctly. And then we'll say test message change. And then we have the context. It's going to have the message. We need snippets, test underscore. That's a moon div.html. And honestly, that's pretty much it. So one thing is that you can method gate these requests. So I can, at the moment we're using a get request, so we can say if request dot method equals get double equals. Okay, but then if you're using a linter, then it's going to throw a fit if you don't return like an empty HTTP response, which comes from, make a full out of me here, Django HTTP import HTTP response. That's fail. Oh, okay, no, all right, seem to like that. All right, and what that does is if it tries to post, if it tries to put, if it tries to patch, if any of the other possible type of requests, it'll just get nothing back. So if you want to put something back, you might want to fill this out a little bit, but an empty one is still secure, is more. I don't know. I mean, do whatever, do what you feel is best here. I don't know what to tell you. All I know is that if it was up to me, I'd just leave it blank and assume nobody was trying to maliciously use post or methods on my view, but then also still method gate it because it looks nice. But if you're using a linter, if you're using the pre-commit in the cookie cutter Django, which I agree with. I love that it tells me how to fix all these things and make it look nicer and work nicer. It's just then you got to do things like this. So beware. Anyways, this is the view. We have to get a URL. I apologize for rambling. I'm trying to go fast. Let's go Django.url. Port path, and then from HTMX app.test.views import change message. I have to give this an app name, and in my case, it depends on how your app's set up, how you built it out. We're just going to call it test, and then URL patterns. List path, boom. Test message. Okay, so the view is change message. The name for that view is going to be change message. And we need to add these URLs to the main URL configuration. Here. like that. So now we can fill out the URL for our button here because we have that available. URL test : change message, and if it's working, then when we click this button, it'll take what currently says test from the include statement. It's about to start storming outside. Okay, right here where we set it, it says test, and it will say test right here, right? Except for, let's refresh because, okay. So where it says test right there, you can ignore this. This is the button. Whenever I click this, it should update. Test message changed. So that's HTMX. It was that simple. There's no state management. Everything comes from the view. The view is no different than any other case. One other thing that you can do is from django.contrib.auth.decorators import login required. I've never tested whether or not that works, but that's mainly because I use login required on the pages that typically have the HTMX functionality. So the functionality is not even available outside of the authentication area, but that should work. Not trying to be a know-it-all. If anybody knows better, correct me. By all means. Do a trailing comma there. You want to annoy some people? Here. Write it like this. This is always fun. Sometimes I like it. I don't know. What do you think about that? It's a more sophisticated view of a view. Changes the way you look at it. Okay. So that is the introduction to HTMX with Django. It's really that simple. I'm trying to think of like any kind of like hooks to be like, come back though, because you're going to need this. It's really that simple. But I still have some cool tricks. I don't know, the notification system. Like, do you know how to use WebSockets to communicate with your front end using HTMX? So if not, like, share, and subscribe, because in the following, maybe even up to like 10 videos, I'm going to cover quite a bit of those types of things. So until next time.